Ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying my videos, please click the like button. It is the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. I would be very grateful to you. Unboxing Evil. Gothic Fairy's Glass Ballerina Curse. Scary story published by Scare Fiction. Read for you by Scare Fiction. Chapter 1. Whispers on Cracked Glass. The bus rattled on, the rhythmic squeak its only companion. Erin stared out the rain-streaked window, her reflection warped by the grime, a distorted echo of the ballerina she once was. 5 years. 5 years since a rogue landing shattered her dreams along with her knee, leaving a gaping hole in her life filled with a dull, aching silence. A lawyer's letter, sudden and unexpected, disrupted this monotonous misery. Inheritance, her eccentric grandmother's sprawling mansion, nestled deep within the Blackwood forest. It was a bizarre prospect, like inheriting a dragon's hoard. Yet, a morbid curiosity flickered within her. Grandma Elara, with her bohemian ways and rumored eccentricities, had always been a distant figure, shrouded in whispered secrets. Maybe a change of scenery wouldn't hurt. Maybe, just maybe, it would shake loose the suffocating depression that clung to her like a shroud. As the bus lurched to a stop, the sign outside proclaimed "Welcome to Blackwood" in peeling paint. It felt more like a warning than a greeting. The town, if you could call it that, was a ghost town. A single gas station stood defiant on the dusty main street, its windows boarded up like MPI sockets. Erin hired a weathered cabbie named Hank, his face a topographical map etched by time and countless forgotten roads. As they ventured into Blackwood Forest, an unsettling silence descended. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy of ancient oaks, casting the road in an eerie gloom. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig seemed amplified, a symphony of unseen things lurking in the shadows. "Blackwood ain't exactly a place people come to, miss," Hank rumbled, his voice a gravelly whisper. "They say it's cursed. Some things ain't meant to be disturbed." Erin forced a laugh. "Just superstitions," she mumbled, but the unease gnawed at her. The forest seemed to tighten its grip, the gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers clawing at the sky. Finally, the trees parted, revealing a sight that stopped her breath. Blackwood Manor, a Gothic behemoth, its spires scraping the bruised belly of the sky. Grand it might have been, but grandeur wrestled with decay. Peeling paint revealed cracked stone, broken windows gaped like vacant eyes, and overgrown ivy clawed at the walls in a desperate attempt to reclaim the structure from the clutches of neglect. As Erin stepped out of the cab, a gust of wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the mournful cry of a distant crow. She swallowed a lump in her throat, the oppressive feeling intensifying. Maybe a good night's sleep and a decent cup of coffee would chase away the chills. But the alternative, returning to the suffocating monotony of her life, seemed as appealing as staring down a hungry wolf. Taking a deep breath, she approached the heavy oak doors. A tarnished brass knocker, shaped like a grotesque gargoyle, stared back with a malevolent grin. With a trembling hand, Erin raised the knocker. The metallic clang echoed in the oppressive silence, making her jump. Then, a sound from within, a slow, deliberate creak that sent shivers down her spine. The door began to open, revealing a narrow hallway swallowed by shadows. A wave of stale air, laced with something metallic and oddly sweet, assaulted her senses. Erin's heart hammered against her ribs, an insistent drum solo in the eerie silence. A skeletal figure emerged from the gloom, shrouded in darkness. As the figure stepped into the sliver of light, a glint flashed from behind it, the glint of glass, reflecting a distorted image of Erin herself. Her reflection, however, was flawless. No hint of injury marred her leg, her posture a perfect arabesque. It was the ballerina she once was, a ghost haunting its own fractured past. The figure tilted its head, and a voice rasped from within the shadows. "Welcome to Blackwood Manor, Miss Erin. Your arrival has been long awaited." The words hung in the air, heavy with a promise. A promise that sent a fresh wave of terror crawling up Erin's spine. This wasn't just an inheritance. This was a trap. Chapter 2: Echoes in the Glass. Erin stumbled back, her breath catching in her throat. The distorted reflection, a phantom ballerina with a haunting grace, sent a jolt of terror through her. "Who are you?" she croaked, her voice barely a whisper in the echoing silence. The figure remained still, shrouded in darkness, but a sense of amusement, or perhaps something more sinister, seemed to emanate from the inky depths. Before Erin could utter another word, the figure retreated back into the shadows, the door creaking shut with a finality that made her heart skip a beat. Alone in the twilight of the hallway, Erin forced herself to breathe. Had she imagined a reflection? Was the stress and isolation finally playing tricks on her mind? Still shaken, she pushed the heavy door shut and stepped deeper into the mansion. The air inside was thick with dust and the lingering scent of something floral, long since faded. Cobwebs draped the corners like ghostly curtains, and portraits lined the walls, stern-faced ancestors, with watchful eyes that seemed to follow her every move. A shiver danced down her spine, the silence pressing in from all sides. As she explored the labyrinthine corridors, Erin stumbled upon dusty treasure troves, a music room with a grand piano shrouded in a white sheet, a library crammed with leather-bound books whispering forgotten stories, and an abandoned art studio with easels frozen in mid-motion, their canvases blank. Stairs echoing her own lost dreams. In a forgotten corner, tucked behind a heavy tapestry, she discovered a hidden room. A single shaft of sunlight pierced through a grime-coated window, illuminating a small circular chamber. And there, in the center of the room, stood a sight that took her breath away. A life-sized ballerina, crafted from pristine glass, stood poised on a pedestal. Moonlight seemed to emanate from within its form, casting an ethereal glow that filled the room. Its features were flawless, every detail from the delicate curve of its neck to the graceful arch of its foot, a testament to the sculptor's meticulous craftsmanship. Yet, despite its undeniable beauty, an unsettling aura clung to the figure. The perfection felt cold, almost mocking. Erin instinctively reached out, her fingertips brushing against the cool glass. A sudden chill radiated from the ballerina, sending a jolt through her arm. She quickly retracted her hand, a tremor running through her body. Was it her imagination, or did the ballerina's eyes seem to follow her with a piercing intensity? A faint whisper, like a sigh carried on the wind, echoed around the room. Erin's heart pounded, every instinct screaming at her to flee. But a strange fascination held her captive. Erin circled the ballerina, her eyes scanning every intricate detail. On the pedestal, beneath the glass figure, a faded inscription caught her eye. To those who yearn for a second chance, a wish can be granted, but at a price. A price. The words sent a shiver down her spine. Suddenly, the whispers seemed louder, more insistent. They were coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, weaving a chilling symphony of fragmented phrases. Perfection, sacrifice, broken dreams. Erin pressed her hand to her forehead, the weight of the whispers threatening to crush her. Was the stress getting to her? Was she hallucinating? But the undeniable chill emanating from the glass ballerina and the inscription promising a second chance forced her to confront a terrifying truth. Something supernatural lurked within the walls of Blackwood Manor. Fueled by a desperate hope and a gnawing fear, Erin knew she couldn't ignore it. She had to unravel the mansion's secrets, to understand the chilling whispers and the alluring power of the glass ballerina. It was a journey fraught with danger, a descent into the shadows of her past, and the darkness lurking in the heart of Blackwood Manor. Chapter 3: A Serpent's Whisper. Days blurred into weeks as Erin delved deeper into the mansion's labyrinthine past. The whispers grew bolder, more distinct, weaving tales of a forgotten lineage and a pact that promised untold power. The chilling inscription at the base of the glass ballerina haunted her every waking moment, a wish for a second chance, but at a price. The isolation gnawed at her, amplifying her anxieties, and the persistent ache in her knee, a constant reminder of her shattered dreams. Looking in the dusty mirrors, she saw not a determined woman, but a shell of her former self, haunted by what could have been. Then one day, a creaking floorboard outside her bedroom door shattered the oppressive silence. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a sudden surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins. Was it just the settling of the old house, or something more? Tentatively, she crept towards the door, her hand trembling as she reached for the knob. With a deep breath, she threw the door open, ready to face whatever lurked in the shadows. Standing in the hallway was a woman. Well, perhaps woman wasn't quite the right word. She looked ancient, her face a map of wrinkles etched by time, her eyes a pale blue that seemed to pierce through Erin. She was dressed in black, her clothes threadbare but strangely elegant. "Miss Erin," she rasped, her voice a dry whisper. "I see you found our little treasure." Erin's mind raced. Who was this woman? A caretaker? A long-lost relative? Before she could voice her question, the woman continued, her voice taking on a sly, serpentine quality. "That beautiful ballerina holds immense power, doesn't she? The power to rewrite your fate, to grant you a second chance." Erin's breath hitched. Her gaze darted to the inscription beneath the glass figure, the words echoing in her head. A second chance, an almost unbearable temptation. The woman observed Erin's internal struggle, a knowing smile playing on her thin lips. "You yearn to dance again, don't you?" she continued, her voice dripping with poisonous empathy. "To feel the stage beneath your feet, the spotlight on your flawless form. That life was stolen from you, but the ballerina can restore it. All it takes is a simple wish." Erin's fists clenched, her knuckles white. This woman was playing on her deepest desires, her most vulnerable insecurities. But the whispers had been filled with warnings too, chilling tales of broken dreams and a terrible price. "There's a catch, isn't there?" Erin managed to force out, her voice raspy with suspicion. The woman's smile widened, a flash of something cold and predatory glinting in her eyes. "Every wish comes with a price, my dear. But wouldn't it be worth it to erase your regrets, to reclaim your lost glory?" Erin's mind was a battlefield. The woman's words resonated with a raw yearning, a desperate desire to return to the world she once ruled with her grace. But a flicker of doubt remained, a voice whispering of the unknown darkness lurking beyond the ballerina's captivating beauty. Days blurred into one another, the woman's haunting words echoing in Erin's mind. The whispers grew stronger, some urging her to embrace the ballerina's power, others speaking of a terrible bargain. Sleep became a fleeting notion, replaced by a constant, gnawing indecision. One night, as a storm raged outside, Erin found herself drawn back to the hidden chamber. Moonlight streamed through the grime-coated window, bathing the glass ballerina in an ethereal glow. Erin traced the cold glass with her fingertips, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. This wasn't just about dance anymore. It was about a life stolen, about silencing the doubts that gnawed at her. With a shaky breath, Erin closed her eyes, the inscription searing into her mind. A wish can be granted, but at a price. "I wish," she whispered, the words barely audible over the howling wind. "I wish to dance again." A blinding flash of light filled the room, and a surge of energy coursed through Erin. When the light subsided, a chilling silence descended. The ballerina remained, flawless and serene, but something had changed. A hidden darkness now simmered beneath its surface, a chilling promise of the power unleashed at her desperate plea. Erin had made her choice. Question now was, what price would she pay for her second chance? Chapter 4. A Dance with Shadows. A tremor ran through Erin, the lingering energy from the wish buzzing in her veins. A strange lightness filled her body, a feeling she hadn't experienced since before the accident. As the initial shock subsided, a surge of excitement washed over her. Could it be? Tentatively, she rose and moved towards the center of the room. With each step, the lightness grew, morphing into a newfound sense of control. It was as if her body had forgotten its limitations, as if the pain in her knee had vanished entirely. Hesitantly at first, she began to move, her limbs rediscovering the language of dance. Every pirouette was executed with effortless precision, every leap defying gravity with a grace that brought tears to her eyes. The years of pain and despair melted away, replaced by the pure joy of movement. But a chilling sensation accompanied this newfound ability. As she danced, distorted reflections flickered in the periphery of her vision. In the warped mirrors lining the walls, she saw glimpses of a different Erin, an Erin with flawless movements, but with eyes that held a cold, unsettling glint. The whispers, too, had changed. They were no longer ethereal murmurs, but distinct voices, laced with a mocking edge. They spoke of a borrowed power, of a bargain struck with darkness, and of a price yet to be paid. Ignoring the chilling whispers and distorted reflections, Erin danced until she was breathless. When she finally stopped, a wave of exhaustion washed over her. But even as she rested, a new ache had begun to manifest, a dull throb deep within her bones, a sense that something unnatural was stirring beneath the surface. The next morning, the ache had intensified. She stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, a gasp escaping her lips. The faintest hint of a hairline crack snaked across the surface of her skin, mimicking a similar flaw now marring the glass ballerina's pristine form. Panic clawed at her throat. Was it her imagination? Was the price of her wish manifesting physically? She dismissed it as a trick of the light, a symptom of her exhaustion. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Days turned into weeks. Erin's dancing continued to improve, her body surpassing even her former capabilities. But the cracks on her skin multiplied, spreading like a spiderweb across her body, mirroring the deepening flaws on the glass ballerina. The once ethereal whispers became a constant cacophony, filling her head with accusations and threats. The once benign forests surrounding the mansion now seemed to bristle with malevolent energy. The rustling leaves whispered her name, and the gnarled branches seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers, clawing at the windows. The isolation, once manageable, became suffocating. Driven by a desperate need for answers, Erin confronted the woman who had appeared after her wish. She stormed into the woman's dusty quarters, the whispers momentarily fading as she burst through the door. "What's happening to me?" Erin cried, her voice raw with fear and anger. "This wasn't the deal. You lied." The woman sat unfazed, a sly smile playing on her lips. "The price was never a secret, Miss Erin. The ballerina grants your wish, but it feeds on your very essence. Your strength, your vitality, they are the fuel for your renewed ability. Erin's blood ran cold. "What have I done?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "You've made a choice," the woman said, her eyes glinting with an unsettling amusement. "Now, the only question is, how far are you willing to go to fulfill your dream?" A cold wind howled outside, whipping against the window panes. The whispers returned, louder than ever, drowning out the woman's mocking laughter. Erin stumbled back, overwhelmed by terror and regret. She had danced with ambition, but the music playing now sounded eerily off-key, a twisted melody with a chilling price. As the woman's chilling words hung heavy in the air, Erin realized with a jolt of horror she was trapped. She had made a deal with a malevolent force, and the cost of her wish was far more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. Chapter 5. A Fractured Reflection. Erin slumped against the wall, the woman's words echoing in the stale air. Trapped, she had traded her pain for a borrowed time, a dance fueled by her very life force. The whispers grew deafening, a symphony of accusations and chilling laughter. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, landing on the cracked surface of the floorboards, a chilling reflection of her own fractured reality. Fueled by a desperate hope, Erin knew she had to act. She scoured the dusty corners of the mansion, a frantic search for answers. In a hidden compartment within the library, she stumbled upon a leather-bound journal, its pages brittle with age. It belonged to her ancestor, the ballerina depicted in the portraits a woman named Clara, consumed by ambition and a thirst for perfection. As Erin devoured the faded ink, a chilling story unfolded. Claire, mirroring Erin's own desperation, had made a pact with the glass ballerina. The initial joy had given way to a chilling reality, a relentless hunger that gnawed at her vitality, her sanity slowly unraveling. The final entry was a desperate plea, scrawled in a trembling hand. It spoke of a hidden room, a forgotten ritual that could sever the connection with the ballerina, but at a terrible cost, a cost that remained tragically unclear. Hope flickered within Erin, a fragile flame in the suffocating darkness. The ritual might be her only chance of escape, but it required a terrifying act: confront the source of the darkness itself, the chilling manifestation housed within the glass ballerina. As darkness descended, Erin stood before the ballerina, its flawless form now marred by a network of cracks, a grotesque reflection of her own deteriorating state. Taking a deep breath, she chanted the words from the journal, the ancient script, a foreign language on her tongue. The air crackled with unseen energy, the room growing colder with each syllable. The ballerina shimmered, the light within turning a sickly green. A wisp of smoke materialized, coalescing into a horrifying figure, a twisted parody of the ballerina, its beautiful form replaced by grotesque skeletal features and eyes burning with malevolent hunger. It shrieked, a sound that ripped through Erin's very soul. Terror threatened to consume her, but fueled by a desperate need for survival, Erin pushed on, her voice rising above the creature's screams. The room pulsed with power, the air thick with the scent of ozone and decay. With a final, agonizing shriek, the creature dissolved into a cloud of black smoke that was sucked back into the ballerina. Exhaustion washed over Erin as the ritual reached its climax. The cracks on the ballerina's surface glowed momentarily, then faded, leaving the figure pristine once more. But a chilling silence hung in the air, a silence that spoke of a severed connection. Erin stumbled back, a wave of dizziness threatening to engulf her. Had she succeeded? Or had she simply unleashed another, more terrifying evil? The question hung heavy in the air, unanswered. As she surveyed the room, a new detail snagged her attention. In the reflection of the glass ballerina, she saw not her own face, but a chillingly familiar one, her ancestor Clara, a hint of a triumphant smile playing on her lips. Did Erin sever the connection, or had she simply taken Clara's place? The question lingered, a terrifying echo in the vast emptiness that now resonated within her. She had escaped the ballerina's immediate grasp, but at what cost? Was she truly free, or had she become another pawn in a game she no longer understood? The answer, shrouded in the mansion's shadows, remained tantalizingly out of reach. Chapter 6. A Dance with Death. Erin stared at her reflection in the glass ballerina, the image of her ancestor, Clara, a chilling echo in the dimly lit chamber. Had she freed herself, or simply become another prisoner trapped in a twisted dance? Dread settled in her gut, a cold, heavy weight. The journal offered little comfort. The ritual's description was cryptic, filled with allusions to forgotten gods and sacrifices, veiled in metaphor. Yet, it was her only hope. Shakily, she reread the faded inscription, memorizing the bizarre ingredients and obscure actions. Her search for the ritual components led her through the dusty labyrinth of the mansion. A rusted silver chalice tarnished with age was found hidden within a forgotten music box. A vial of glistening, pearlescent liquid, its origins unknown, resided in a dusty apothecary cabinet. Each discovery felt like a step closer to freedom, but also a step deeper into the house's oppressive darkness. The air crackled with a malevolent energy, the whispers growing more aggressive, urging her to abandon the ritual and embrace the ballerina's power. The once pristine figure now shimmered with an unsettling inner light, the cracks on its surface pulsing with a malevolent glow. As the full moon climbed high in the sky, casting an ethereal glow through the grime-coated windows, Erin prepared for the ritual. In the center of the hidden chamber, she arranged the collected items, a makeshift altar to an unknown god. The air grew thick with a suffocating pressure, the whispers morphing into deafening screams that threatened to shatter her resolve. Sweat beaded on Erin's forehead as she began the incantation, her voice strained against the cacophony of sound. The room pulsed with an otherworldly energy, the floorboards groaning under an unseen pressure. A swirling vortex materialized above the chalice, a chilling gateway to a dimension beyond human comprehension. From the vortex emerged a grotesque manifestation of the ballerina's power, a skeletal wraith draped in tattered silk, its eyes burning with an unholy hunger. This was the embodiment of her ambition, the dark side of her desire for perfection. The wraith lunged, its skeletal fingers reaching for her throat. Instinctively, Erin threw up her hands, shielding herself. But the touch was immaterial, a cold wind that ripped through her, exposing the raw core of her desires. The journal's final words echoed in her mind. The greatest sacrifice is not blood, but that which you hold dearest. A horrifying realization dawned on her. The true price wasn't her life force, but the very essence of her dream. Tears streamed down her face as she grabbed the vial filled with the pearlescent liquid, the embodiment of her ballet career. The years of sweat and dedication poured into a shimmering potion. With a choked sob, she poured the liquid onto the altar, watching as it evaporated into the swirling vortex. A scream, both of rage and anguish, ripped from the wraith's form. It writhed in agony as the vortex pulsed with renewed energy, then with a deafening crack, slammed shut. Silence descended, heavy and oppressive. Erin slumped to the floor, her body drained, but a flicker of hope rekindled in her chest. Had she succeeded? Just then, a figure emerged from the shadows, the woman who had initially appeared after her wish. Her face, once etched with sly amusement, was now contorted in fury. "Foolish girl," She shrieked. You've disrupted the cycle. You were supposed to become the next vessel, not sever the connection. Erin's blood ran cold. This woman wasn't there to help her. She was part of the scheme all along. But before she could react, the woman lunged, her hands reaching for the ballerina. Suddenly, a new voice filled the room, a booming baritone that echoed with power. A figure materialized from the darkness, a tall, wizened man with eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. He spoke words in a language Erin didn't understand, but their power was undeniable. The woman recoiled, fear twisting her face. She let out a guttural scream and vanished into a puff of black smoke. The man turned towards Erin, his gaze both assessing and strangely familiar. You have disrupted a balance, child, he rumbled. But you have also shown courage. Your future remains uncertain, but you are free now. He gestured towards the window. Leave this place. Forget what you have seen. Remember, some things are best left undisturbed. With a final flicker, the man vanished, leaving Erin alone in the dimly lit chamber. Dawn was breaking as Erin stumbled out of the mansion. The whispering forest seemed less menacing, the sunlight filtering through the leaves, a welcome change from the oppressive. Chapter 7: Echoes in the Glass. Erin stumbled out of the mansion, the rising sun painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The air felt clean, crisp, a stark contrast to the suffocating atmosphere within. Yet despite the freedom washing over her, a chilling unease lingered. Her body ached, drained from the harrowing night's ordeal. The forest, once menacing, seemed to whisper a hesitant welcome. The gnarled branches no longer reached out like skeletal fingers, but swayed gently in the morning breeze. Was this a genuine change, or a mere trick of her fractured perception? As she approached her car, a shiver ran down her spine. The once familiar vehicle looked different, warped and distorted, its reflection in a puddle shimmering with an unsettling inner light. Everything felt off-kilter, a disorienting echo of the twisted reality she had barely escaped. Suddenly, a voice startled her. The woman, the apparent manipulator from the mansion, stood beside the car, her face uncharacteristically devoid of its usual sly amusement. "You look like you could use a ride," she said, her voice strangely gentle. Erin recoiled, suspicion clawing at her. "How did you? And where did you go?" The woman offered a tight smile. "Let's just say I have my ways. Right now, it's more important that you get away from here." Erin hesitated. Could she trust this woman? Or was this another twisted game? But the thought of leaving Blackwood Manor, of putting distance between herself and the malevolent ballerina, was too tempting to resist. She climbed into the car, a tense silence filling the air. As they drove away, the woman spoke, her voice laced with a hint of urgency. "You've disrupted the cycle, Erin, but the danger isn't over. The ballerina is a powerful entity, fueled by ambition and despair. Those who succumb to its promises become trapped, their dreams twisted into a source of its power." Erin glanced at the woman, a flicker of understanding dawning on her. This wasn't just about her. The ballerina fed on countless broken dreams, a malevolent entity at the heart of a cycle of misfortune. The whispers she had heard, the spectral figures glimpsed in the mansion's dusty corners, were they all past victims, forever trapped in the ballerina's web? As if sensing her thoughts, the woman continued. "There's a way to break the curse, to set them free. But it requires a final confrontation, a battle against the very essence of the ballerina's power." Erin gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. Another confrontation? The thought terrified her, but the haunting echoes of the spectral figures resonated within her. She couldn't simply walk away, not knowing if she could truly be free while others remained trapped. Suddenly, the woman slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a halt on the deserted road. She turned to Aaron, her eyes glinting with a strange intensity. "Are you willing to fight, Aaron? Are you willing to risk everything to break the ballerina's curse?" The weight of the decision settled on Aaron's shoulders. Fear warred with a newfound determination. Looking at the looming silhouette of Blackwood Manor in the distance, a symbol of her ordeal and a potential gateway to freedom for others, Aaron finally spoke. "Yes," she said, her voice hoarse but resolute. "I'll fight." A flicker of something akin to respect crossed the woman's face. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant, its surface etched with an intricate design. "This might help," she said, handing it to Aaron. "It will shield you from the ballerina's influence. But remember, the final battle will be yours alone." With that, the woman vanished as mysteriously as she had appeared. Aaron sat alone in the car, the silver pendant clutched in her hand. The weight of the task ahead was daunting, but a spark of hope flickered within her. She wasn't alone. The spectral echoes within the mansion, whispers of countless victims, urged her forward. Together, perhaps they could finally break the ballerina's hold and find a true escape from the twisted dance it had orchestrated for far too long. Chapter 8: Shattered Glass. The silver pendant felt cool against Aaron's skin, a tangible symbol of a fragile hope. Back in the mansion, the spectral echoes grew bolder, their whispers coalescing into a single unified voice. They were the remnants of past victims, their dreams stolen, their souls trapped by the ballerina's curse. Through them, Aaron learned the mansion's dark history. The ballerina wasn't just an object of dark power, it was a sentient entity, feeding on ambition and despair. The whispers revealed a vulnerability, a hidden chamber deep within the mansion, the source of the ballerina's power. There, they believed, lay the key to its destruction. Armed with this knowledge and the spectral echoes as her guides, Aaron devised a desperate plan. It was a gamble, fraught with risk. Destroying the ballerina meant shattering the very foundation of the mansion, potentially unleashing unforeseen consequences. Yet, the alternative, succumbing to its power and joining the ranks of the trapped souls, was unthinkable. The descent into the hidden chamber was a harrowing journey. The air crackled with a malevolent energy, the whispers morphing into deafening screams that threatened to shatter her resolve. The deeper she ventured, the more the mansion itself seemed to warp and twist, reflecting her own growing fear and trepidation. Finally, she reached a cavernous chamber, its walls pulsating with an otherworldly light. In the center stood a pedestal, and upon it the ballerina. But this was no longer the graceful figure she had encountered before. It was a grotesque parody, its form warped and contorted, its eyes burning with a malevolent hunger. A wave of despair washed over Aaron, threatening to drown her courage. But the spectral echoes surged forward, their voices a chorus of defiance. They reminded her of the countless dreams stolen, the lives shattered by the ballerina's curse. With a deep breath, Aaron stepped forward, the silver pendant glowing with a soft light. The ballerina shrieked, a sound that ripped through the chamber, shaking the very foundations of the mansion. A spectral blade materialized in Aaron's hand, its form shimmering with the combined strength of the trapped souls. This was their final stand, a desperate gamble for freedom. The battle that ensued was a blur of movement and raw energy. The ballerina lashed out with unnatural power, its warped form a whirlwind of pain and despair. But Aaron fought back, fueled by the echoes of the trapped souls and her own unwavering determination. With a final, desperate lunge, Aaron struck true. The spectral blade plunged into the heart of the ballerina, a blinding flash erupting from the point of impact. The chamber shuddered, the spectral echoes screaming in a chorus of agony and release. Then, silence. The ballerina shattered into a million shimmering shards, scattering across the cavernous chamber. A wave of energy pulsed outwards, shaking the mansion to its very core. Cracks began to spiderweb across the walls, the air thick with dust and the smell of ozone. Erin stumbled back, a wave of exhaustion washing over her. Had she won, or had she unleashed something far more terrible? The answer came in the form of a chilling laughter that echoed through the chamber. The laughter wasn't the ballerina's, but something older, something far more malevolent. The source of the laughter remained unseen, but its presence was undeniable, a dark entity that had been imprisoned within the ballerina itself. With a horrifying crack, the ceiling of the chamber caved in, burying Aaron under a cascade of dust and debris. The mansion groaned, its foundations crumbling as the laughter echoed through the collapsing halls. Had Aaron shattered the curse or simply opened the door to a new and even more terrifying evil? The answer, shrouded in the dust and darkness, remained tantalizingly unclear.